Welcome to the Year of the Movie podcast, the podcast where we talk about movies from the year of the movie 2023. I'm Sebastian,
I'm Maggie.
and we are Year of the Movie podcast. Guess what, guys? We're mixing things up. We have Bryce back
Whoa.
in the control room. So that's really only helpful for our video viewers to see that right now. But our audio viewers, Bryce, say hi.
Hello, a whole room
Just for
separate
you.
Yeah,
from
he
that
he
room.
really does have his own room now, which is
He's grown up.
he's grown up. Our production budget has shot through the roof. Um, a quick thing. I'm sick. I'm not sick anymore.
You
I'm.
said that like you were dying.
I'm. It's the big one. Um, I am very congested right now, so that's why I sound this way. Also, so sorry about the audio in the last episode. It was a mess. There was a weird buzzing issue, and there wasn't really a great way to fix that. Theoretically, there is no more buzz.
Fingers
There should be
crossed.
no buzz. Bryce, do you hear a buzz right now?
I not above the normal buzz from tinnitus, but
Great.
Perfection. So we're good.
Yeah.
So now onto the movie stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Before you get into your notes,
Yeah.
I do want to talk, unless you have this in your notes, that the Oscar nominations just came out.
I do not have this in my notes.
So at the time of this recording, Oscar nominations just came out
Mm-hmm.
yesterday.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. Um, and there's movies on there that we expected, and then there's the big
Lebowski.
Lebowski, Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie.
Oh, the snubs.
There a lot of the internet, a lot of people think that they got snubbed. A lot of people are saying it was a fine movie. It didn't really need to be nominated. Uh, yeah, it's. I think the weirder part is that well, I know America Ferrera got supporting actress,
She got supporting actress.
but the weirdest part is that Ryan Gosling was nominated and Margot Robbie wasn't.
Yeah. His statement response thing that
It's
he
very
released,
classy.
yeah, was the ideal response.
Yeah.
He said like there is no Ken without Barbie.
Yeah.
Yeah, just yes, literally. Like from the toy standpoint,
Yep.
he is correct. Also from the standpoint of how that movie got made and that the driving force behind it was Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie, who had meetings with people saying you will make $1 billion off of this movie.
Yep.
And then they did,
Yep.
and then they don't get that.
Yeah.
You can make the argument or whatever that like those awards are like I can't think of the right word right now, but
Meaningless?
yeah, that is one of the words that you could use. Or like it's for show. Yeah, it's not it doesn't actually have any meaning behind it, but it's also like this is a very unique time in film history where you have uh three of the best or three of the nominations for best motion picture were directed by women. It's never happened before.
Yep.
And then you also have a first female solo director who has a movie to make over $1 billion, and
Yeah.
to not then have that final step of acknowledging like you done good.
Were the other two directors of the Best Picture nominations nominated for Best Director?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I know one of them was the Anatomy of a Fall,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I want to say I am not a huge fan of the Oscars. I think it is a silly award of Hollywood being like, "Yeah, go Hollywood," especially when so many movies about Hollywood just end up winning because it's about Hollywood.
Yeah,
Um, but I keep
Past Lives.
Past Lives. Oh yeah. And these all deserve them. I'm not saying that they don't. It's just it is weird when Barbie was like, and I know it got a nomination for best screenplay, which
Yeah.
Greta Gerwig co-wrote
Yeah.
with her husband. So it's just like, eh.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anatomy of a Fall. Justine Triet.
yeah,
That's probably not how you pronounce it. No. Justin.
yeah.
Yeah. was nominated for directing as well.
They both were. So it was
Just no.
Oh, okay. So only one of the 3 Best Picture directed by women was also nominated for Best Director.
As far as I can see, yes.
Okay.
These are also facts in my head from what I read online. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have specific
Sound off in the comments if we're just completely wrong.
Anyway, it's just like such wild mixed messages to get from like
Yeah.
you have this institution that claims to be rewarding and supporting and highlighting film and filmmaking, and then
But only a little bit. We still got it. We still got to show that the men are still doing good stuff too.
yeah, it's an extremely goofy year for movies.
Yeah. But I wanted to keep off of that.
Mm-hmm.
People online, since these little nominations, I keep seeing threads where people are like, 2023 is one of the best year for movies in recent movie history, which
boy howdy do I have a podcast recommendation for you.
Listen to our podcast.
And if you're hearing this, then you are.
But also, is it one of the
we said this earlier, or like when you were telling me about it this morning.
Yeah.
Then like I said it's the year of the movie.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, there are all of these big movies that came out, like Poor Things and Barbie and Oppenheimer, and like the cinema, like those types of artsy movies. And then there's Cocaine Bear and 65 and 80 for Brady and every other movie we've ever mentioned for every single episode. Yeah. I said it's the year for the movie because I feel like we're at the point where people were greenlighting a bunch of wild stuff during the pandemic and in isolation, and now we get to see all of it. Yep. It came out all at once.
But I'm probably, I don't know if biased is the right word, but Everything Everywhere All at Once I think is probably one of my favorite movies. And I know it isn't the only movie that came out, but 2022 was just like, it just was an incredible year
for
cinema. Yeah. So it's just weird when people are like, yeah, in the last 7 years, 2023 is probably the best year in terms of movies.
Yeah.
Okay, now that all that preamble and all that is, let's focus on today's episode. And today's episode is about the movie
Strays.
Yep. Strays, the talking dog movie.
Yeah.
With Will Ferrell.
Bryce, and have you heard about this movie?
I have not.
Oh, really? You haven't?
No.
Okay, so it is, like one of those dog movies where like the dog talks but no one can like understand the dog, but it still has like a person speaking as the dog.
I like that Elijah Wood TV show.
No, not quite Wilfred.
Oh.
Different from that.
Different from Wilfred. So more like
Milo and Otis. Do they talk in that?
They talk to each other, but I'm trying to like there's like 1 or 2 Dennis Quaid movies where he has a dog and the dog narrates.
Yeah.
And so like it's a dog story basically.
You know the Bush's Baked Beans commercials where the dog's mouth moves?
Yes.
One of those.
But no one can understand the dogs except other animals.
So it's like Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
Except people can understand Detective Pikachu.
No. It's just the kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen Detective
Okay,
Pikachu.
well, no one can understand the dogs.
But they talk to each other.
They talk to each other
the mouths move.
in English and the mouths move.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an R-rated dog adventure story.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's Will Ferrell, Jamie Foxx, right?
Mm-hmm.
Randall Park.
Yes.
And Isla Fisher.
Yep.
That's like the main cast, and then Will Forte is also in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like it's hard R.
The synopsis is abandoned on the mean streets by his low-life owner, Doug, a naive but lovable dog, or abandoned on the mean streets by his low-life owner, Doug, A naive but lovable dog named Reggie falls in with a fast-talking, foul-mouthed Boston Terrier and his gang of strays. Determined to seek revenge, Reggie and his new canine pals embark on an epic adventure to get him home and make Doug pay for his dirty deed.
Yeah. I don't want to say this now because it's an R-rated movie.
Mm.
Let's try not to swear so that I don't have to remember to make this explicit.
Okay.
Please. Thank you.
I also learned when I was looking stuff up about this movie that Strays should not be confused with the other 2023 movie, The Strays, which is a Netflix movie. I think it's a British Netflix movie, so
I don't know if that's on our list, but
it may or may not be on our
yes,
list.
it needs to be.
Yeah.
That one I have heard of.
The Strays?
The Strays?
Yep.
All right.
Interesting. Anyway, what were your first impressions when you heard about this movie?
So this was another one where the trailer came out early
It did.
because the movie didn't come out until the end-ish of the year.
Yeah,
Right.
I have info
Yeah.
about why.
But the trailer came out pretty early because it was another one of those trailers that I saw. I was like, oh, 2023, because it was at a point where it was like, the trailers for 2023 were 65,
Mm-hmm.
We Have a Ghost,
Mm-hmm.
Strays, Inside,
Somebody I used to know. Those were the main ones where I was like, this is
a wild selection.
yeah,
And then I think
Renfield maybe.
I think the Barbie teaser trailer was out at that point, and like
It was at least the meme
we knew that it was happening. Yeah.
The Barbenheimer meme had at least.
But Strays was definitely one where I was like, what is this? Like, why?
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
yeah. And I'm glad comedies are being made
Mm-hmm.
because there has been, and we kind of talked about this in the Foggy Mountain episode, like a decline in theatrical release of comedies.
Yeah.
But boy, howdy, was this year, it doesn't help any. Because what? It was Strays and then No Hard Feelings, that Jennifer Lawrence movie.
Yeah. Oh, are you thinking about that quote from our last episode that talked about the different? There's a quote that was from like a comment on an article that was like, saying that Foggy Mountain was best poised to be like a
Yes.
return to
Yeah.
the traditional 2010s comedy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, which I still agree with.
I agree with.
Yeah, but yes, it was Strays, and yeah, No Hard Feelings was like the other big
Yeah.
slapstick.
And I saw someone online that was like, man, No Hard Feelings was like, that was like the biggest push back towards comedy. Like, it was pretty good. Whatever. Just comedy, I wish was taken more seriously,
Yeah.
which I know
Mhm.
people don't like. How do you take comedy seriously? Because it's a craft, it's an art, whatever.
I don't want to talk about it
I
anymore.
don't even want to be around anymore.
I want to take my ball and go home.
Yeah, I am gonna take my ball and go home.
Okay. See you there. Yeah, when I heard about this movie, I was like, oh, this is a extremely goofy year for movies. That's wild. But I also thought like when you hear the premise of R-rated dog movie, then it's kind of like, yeah, why hasn't that been done before?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good premise. We'll get into the execution later.
Mm-hmm. You can tell by the tone of our voice that we are fans of the execution.
Mm-hmm.
Cause we are.
Whoa.
What's next in your notes?
The trailer. So
Oh yeah, true.
we're gonna do a slightly different thing for trailers. For this one specifically, because there's not like, if you know the synopsis, you know basically the plot breakdown. The trailer doesn't really reveal a whole lot more from that.
I mean, we might do it for other episodes that are similar
Yeah.
in that way.
Basically, this one is not worth it to do like a shot for shot breakdown, and we're, if people feel strongly about including that, then we'll bring it back. But in general, we're gonna summarize the trailers more, unless there's some huge deviation, like in Somebody I Used to Know or something like that, where the trailer is just wildly different from what the actual movie is. I think it's your turn.
Yeah, that's fine. I have it on. I'm not just on my phone. See, this is fun having we have tallies on our cameras. So for our video viewers, I'm looking right at you, and I can see that I'm live. I'm not just on my phone. I have notes. I'm on the notes. I'm looking at the notes. So don't come at me, Mom.
Anyway,
The trailer, Reggie is a happy dog who loves everything, especially his owner, Doug. It's clear that Reggie doesn't understand that Doug is an abusive dog owner who keeps trying to abandon him in various locations. Reggie just thinks they're playing a game called Fetch and F Word. Reggie gets abandoned again in a city where he meets Bug and his friends Maggie and Hunter. Bug breaks the news that Reggie is actually a stray, but tries to show him the benefits of living without an owner. Reggie eventually decides to return to Doug again, but this time he's going to bite Doug's penis off. You can say that.
No, it's just the eye contact as you turned and said penis at me.
It's the only way I say penis. Doug's new friends decide to join him and they go on a raunchy buddy road trip.
Yep. Pretty straightforward movie. It really highlights that this is an adult dog movie.
Yeah.
The tagline that they had for the Universal Studios, like YouTube, said they're bad to the bone.
I mean, that's a pretty good tagline.
It's pretty good. I feel like it's not quite dog enough related to me.
Bad to the bone.
Thank you. That's so much.
Does it help if the tagline is said that way?
Yeah. And then the trailer also highlights the big names. Actually, it really just highlights Will Ferrell and Jamie Foxx. And then that is from the same people who made 21 Jump Street, Cocaine Bear, and Ted. The director, his other big credit that I could see where it's Barb and Star Visit Del Mar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's his other big one. The cast: Will Ferrell as Reggie, Jamie Foxx as Bug, Isla Fisher as Maggie, Randall Park as Hunter, Will Forte as Doug, the owner, Brett Gelman as Willie. He's the
he's in Stranger Things. He's the conspiracy nut in Stranger Things.
Yeah, but in this movie, he's like he works at the dog pound.
Yeah. He's the warden of the dog pound.
There are a lot of like celebrity voice cameos. Like Rob Riggle plays Rolf, one of the canine dogs.
He plays the cop dog, which makes sense.
Josh Gad plays Gus, who is the narrating dog.
He is parodying what we were describing to Bryce earlier of the narrating dog movies, where he is narrating a scene that has nothing to do with the story, but they put it in the movie. He's narrating a scene. Spoilers for the movie. Let's just get out of that. We're just spoiling this movie. He narrated a scene of his owner talking to a girl, and it's basically like she needed.
They're at a carnival.
And he was just like, yeah, my owner really needs her.
The dog barked at the girl, and the girl turned around and she was like, "Your dog made me mess up my shot," because she's doing like the darts at balloon game thing, and he's like, "Well, maybe I can make it up to you," and it's supposed to be like a meet cute, and then the dog's narration is like, if only people could understand me, then they would know that David was going to kill that woman.
Because he's killed 7 other women, buried them in his backyard. That scene, very funny.
Yeah. Sofia Vergara voices Dolores the Couch.
Yep, she voices the couch. And then my favorite, I don't know if this is what you have, but Dennis Quaid is in this movie as Dennis Quaid.
Forgot to credit Dennis Quaid as Dennis Quaid.
Because he's in those dog movies,
Yeah.
where I think Josh Gad voices the dog in those dog movies.
Yeah.
But Dennis Quaid is bird watching and then sees the crazy event that's happening, and he puts down his binoculars and he says, "That's the craziest thing I've ever seen, and I'm Dennis Quaid."
Like before that, it could have just been celebrity cameo, but he's like, "Hi,
I'm Dennis Quaid."
Yep. The characters, the main group,
the main four.
They kind of all have like one defining characteristic. So Hunter is he's a therapy dog who was almost a canine dog and then failed out of the program. and he's nervous. He wears a cone all the time. And then there's Maggie, who is owned by an influencer, and then the influencer got another dog, so now she's kind of like neglected by the owner. And she's really good at sniffing. And they have they flirt.
Yep.
And then Bug is Jamie Foxx's character, and he has been a stray. The other two aren't strays.
No. They just sometimes roam the streets with Bug.
Yeah, they just have unsupervised street access. Yeah, so Bug has been a stray for the longest, for a while. And he's got issues with people. He doesn't like the idea of having an owner.
Because he had an owner once, but it was like a 6-year-old girl who accidentally stepped on him or woke him up.
They were best friends. She ran past him. She accidentally stepped on his paw.
And instinctually, like a dog, he bit her.
Yeah.
And so then the parents got rid of him.
Yeah. Which, like, I get it. It's a movie. It was obviously, like, they established, like, these were best friends.
Yeah.
She picked him out as a puppy from the store and all that stuff. And then it's like, well, this is clearly not a part of this dog's behavior.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You gotta have a tragic backstory. And then Reggie, the main character, is owned by Doug. Doug sucks. And then he was dating this girl who was the one to adopt Reggie and who actually took care of him. And then they broke up, and Doug kept Reggie. He hated the dog, but he kept him just because he knew that she wanted him.
Yeah, it was out of spite.
Out of spite, yeah. So yeah, then Reggie decides he wants revenge for being mistreated.
Yeah. So they go on an adventure from New York City to some countryside. Some countryside. Yeah, they go all the way to the Italy. And Reggie says, I'm gonna bite your penis off. No, they just go out to the country, but it's a long trip just for dogs on their own.
Yeah, they say like he was abandoned in the city, and then they go back to Doug's house, and then it's also like it's dogs. It's the perspective of dogs, so they like are traveling by landmarks. So when he's saying the landmarks, he's like, there's a big
cone.
There's a big cone,
which is a mountain.
Hamster wheel, which is a Ferris wheel at the carnival.
And there's a devil in the sky.
So the devil in the sky.
And it's a billboard for the post office.
It has a mailman on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a silly movie, and there's funny parts. There's definitely funny parts.
There are funny bits.
I see your note here that I also appreciate. Minimal CGI. A lot of this movie was done with real dogs. And then they just CGI the face or whatever.
Yeah.
And then some stuff you have to CGI, like when a hawk picks up Bug and starts flying with Bug, and then Reggie grabs on to Bug's foot with Reggie's, like he bites the foot, and so what the scene is a hawk flying in the air
carrying two
dogs.
And that's what Dennis Quaid sees through his binoculars.
Yeah.
And then the dogs hit a tree and they're able to escape, and it's fun. Yeah. I'm trying to think of other well, so they're dog movie tropes.
Mm-hmm.
The movie talks about them a lot. So like the classic one, which is the main plot for this movie, is the like we have to get home to the family at all costs. Like somehow a pet is separated from its family and then it tries to return to the family, and it's all heartwarming and whatever. This movie is it's not going for heartwarming. For the to reunite Reggie and Doug. Yeah, there's the narrator dog, like we talked about earlier. There's also kind of the buddy road trip trope of the dogs get high at one point. There's like a drugs.
They eat mushrooms. And honestly, the high scene pretty good.
I don't like drug scenes in movies, um, just because I feel like it's always cheesy. Um, this one was pretty good, but whenever like characters suddenly get high, it immediately feels like a high school project every single time to me. Of just like I never believe it.
Yeah, I think it works like if they lean into the cheesiness or if it's a psychedelic. Like if it's a psychedelic, then it's more believable. I think if it's weed and then all this stuff happens, then whatever.
Whenever a movie is like
Yeah.
they smoked and then they saw God or
Yeah.
whatever. It's like you should go to the hospital if that's your reaction.
But Walk Hard, Dewey Cox story, he gets high in that movie with the Beatles, and there's like a high scene in that where they're all in a trip together. But it's animated like the Yellow Submarine movie, and so it's like they're showing this drug trip through like that lens, and it's very funny. This one I thought worked also because they're mushrooms, they're dogs. It was silly, and it was more than just like how they're acting. They also like at one point one of the dogs was a hand puppet.
Yeah.
Part of it was animated. Like
this one worked because they did enough like messing with the mediums or like there was another joke on top of it besides just isn't it funny that these characters are high now?
Yeah.
Like Booksmart is the one that I mostly think of like a fairly recent one that I've seen. I know there's a drug sequence in that and like they do mess with like I think they're also animated or something at one point in that.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but it just whenever it happens I'm always just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's all hardly ever interesting to me.
Yeah.
This one was fun of some of the stuff like the like the hand puppet or there is the one specifically of like a shot of a bug and it's like a dog meme. Like there's some self-aware stuff with that. The one part with it that I was like meh about was they kill a family of rabbits while they're high.
They do, but I thought it was funny how they did it, and it wasn't like a shock.
It wasn't gory or anything. It's not like they woke up
because when they're high, they're like, "Guys, I found these toys.
Yeah.
Let's play with these toys." And then they're stuffed rabbits, like stuffed animals, and they start like playing them like dogs do, and then the stuffing comes out, and then when they come out of their trip, they wake up and they're like, "Oh, oh my God!" Because there's just blood everywhere, and it's because they accidentally killed rabbits. I know how against killing animals you are. I'm pretty for. But I did think that it was a funny way of doing it. It was definitely not Guardians of the Galaxy 3 of showing animal cruelty.
Yeah. If it was like they woke up and their fur was dyed because of the blood or something, I would be more like just because it would have been too much of a tonal change. The fact that it's like when they woke up and there was blood and stuff everywhere, but like it was still clearly like fake rabbit.
Yeah, like they showed
it stayed in the or it kept it in the goofy tone of the rest of it.
The dead rabbits definitely didn't look real at all.
Yeah. And then they had the canine dogs show up right then, and then they're like, "See," like they think they're gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was an interesting take that this movie was pro canine dog unit.
I mean, listen.
I thought it was gonna be like, "Hey kids, a cab," but
I've said it before. A cabda. All cops are bad, except dogs and horses. Bryce,
rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Cabda.
A cabda.
I mean, I know of some really mean horses. All dogs are good, and having not seen this movie,
you're right, Bryce. Not all horses.
Yeah, not some horses can be douches. But But listening to what you guys are saying about it, I don't think I could watch this movie.
Yeah.
Just because I like dogs too much.
Oh, it's
It's pro dog.
It's pro dog.
Oh, I think it's pro dog in a way that I don't want to see it, as in
You don't want to ruin the innocence of dogs. Because we haven't even gotten to. Well, I'll get there because they're in the back of my head. The scenes. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get there soon.
dogs are good beings, and they should not be.
We'll prepare for this movie to ruin dogs.
Oh boy.
To ruin the concept of dogs.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure where to put this in the notes.
I was just gonna say, because there's just so much of this movie that I liked.
Yes.
So much that I didn't like.
The things that I don't like about it, I think, put it in that realm of the early 2000s comedy.
Yeah.
I think that style of movie is, I agree, like comedy should be more, or like just purely comedy for comedy's sake should be more. Mainstream isn't the right word because like just saying people should like comedy is a nothing statement.
Yep.
But like you don't necessarily have to have a dramedy or whatever. Like you can just make a goofy movie. Yeah. The scenes that were rough to watch in this movie were the more purely comedic early 2000s.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes from raunchy humor.
Yes.
Which isn't my absolute favorite.
I feel like I'm describing myself as like such a
prude.
Prude, yeah.
I'm not.
Just
I don't think you're
anti-drug scene, anti-dog killing, and anti-comedy.
Maybe you are a prude. I don't think I'm a prude, but I don't really care for poop humor.
Oh, yeah.
It's just never been something that.
There are exceptions to that because we are currently making comedy videos for a plumbing company.
Well, yeah, there's always exceptions. But I mean the type, because like the poop humor that we do for work is just like poop exists. Poop. I'm talking about graphic poop humor where it's just like
you see the
poop, or you're talking like about farts, or someone lets out a really big fart. I don't care about that.
Watching someone throw up.
I don't care about that. As much as I think you should leave anytime when he's talking about like big mud pie. I don't care about that. I don't find any it's just like, okay, whatever. It just, I don't know. In this movie, they get locked up into the pound.
So there's a little girl who's missing in the woods.
Yeah, let's get some backstory.
So the reason the canine dogs show up after they kill the rabbits, so they bury the rabbits. Yeah. They're like, we're never gonna speak at this again. The canine dogs show up, and they're looking for a little girl who's lost in the woods. They like talk to the dog, like, did you find them or whatever? And they're like, or have you seen them? And then the Rob Riggle dog knows Hunter, and he's like, we're buddies. Like, I won't turn you in. Like, I know you guys are strays or whatever. And then it's a setup, and Rob Riggle immediately turns on him, and they get taken away to the pound, and Maggie and Hunter are like gonna be returned to their owners, but they're like, this is bad for Bug and Reggie.
Yeah. And so the dogs have 2 attempts to break out of the jail. I'm going to connect to the second one since that's what we were talking about first.
I have a canine thought before you.
Okay.
Of like, it feels like it's weird that it's pro canine because they almost make like a commentary about the like jail system and incarceration and whatever, of like talking about how this system impacts people differently, and like you can't trust this guy who works in the system, and then it doesn't, and then Maggie becomes a canine sniffer dog later. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't think this is the movie it's trying to make.
It's not.
I don't think it's trying to make.
It's just whatever.
So the second attempt that they attempt to break out of jail, is they convince all of the dogs in the pound, not just like the main four, but all of them to poop.
Reggie gives a inspiring speech to get them all to poop.
To poop.
Like 30 other dogs there.
And so they all poop, and it's all like they are all like in rows, and they've pooped, and then they are sitting in front of the poop, and then the warden comes in to clean it up, and he's like, "Oh, you guys think you're so funny and so cute," and then all the dogs charge him and run out, and he slips on the poop, and keeps slipping on the poop.
It's a series of poop pratfalls.
Yeah, and then he's covered in poop.
Poop falls.
And then he's covered in poop.
And then he chases after the dogs.
And he's covered in poop.
And then he yells at them through the lobby.
And he's covered in poop.
And then he puts his hand on the receptionist's desk.
And he's covered in poop.
And he's like, I'll clean that up later because
he's covered in poop.
So the joke is he's covered in poop.
Oh, is that the joke?
That was my read of the situation. Yeah. So it's like it's fine. It's over the top.
It's just gross humor that
it's not the thing that excites us, obviously.
It doesn't do it for me. The first attempt, though,
also doesn't do it for us.
Is worse somehow.
It's weirder.
So, what kind of dog is
Hunter?
Hunter.
He's a Great Dane.
He's a Great Dane.
Yeah.
So he's a big dog, and they're talking, and they're like, Hunter.
He's not fixed.
Yeah. You are well endowed. Do you think you could reach the keys with your penis?
They keep saying how well endowed he is
throughout the movie.
This is a thing that comes up multiple times. And then they're like, I bet you could make it go all the way across the hallway and get the keys. So they try and get him
aroused,
excited.
Yeah. And so they're doing that, and the shots are like the dogs saying things, and then you get
basically dirty talking him,
and then you get close-ups on his face, and then you get like a shadow that's starting to poke out, and then you see out of focus red.
Yeah.
And then they show a shot, like a wide shot, of this dog.
Because they show the distance of like the door that they're trying to get out of and where the keys are, and they show it across the hallway.
And it's way too far.
Yeah.
But then they show this dog just with the red
full
erection red rocket, and it's just like, what? Why?
Yeah.
This is really weird.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It wouldn't have made my cut.
Yeah.
If I was a studio.
Yeah.
Basically, any of the stuff in jail, I'm just like, this was bad.
The stuff with the jail, obviously there's so much prep for it, which means like that was agreed to pretty early on to have all of that in there, and it's just okay.
Yeah.
I get why it's in there, again, for an over-the-top comedy, but there are funny bits, and I think the other thing with like having that stuff in there is like, I guess it makes sense of like, if you have a human comedy, there's probably gonna be a weird we need to get out of jail scene. There's gonna be a drug sequence. There's gonna be a weird sex scene or something. It makes sense to like figure out, okay, well, how do we make dogs do this? But yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but the first jailbreak attempt feels a little
I did not enjoy watching it.
No.
This movie was a lot of just like, there's a lot of funny bits, but none of it is really cohesive.
There are funny lines within scenes.
Yeah.
Something that we've said about another movie, and I cannot remember which one it is. Maybe it was Foggy Mountain.
Maybe.
Yeah.
There's a whole part where Bug is like showing Reggie what it means to be a stray and the freedom that comes with it. And part of that is like they find these lawn gnomes, and Bug is like, yeah, you can just hump whatever you want,
Mhm.
like these lawn gnomes. And he's like telling Reggie to like talk dirty to it and call that gnome his bitch, right?
Tell him
That's
daddy.
oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, well I meant the dog bitch, so I can say that. It's not explicit.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. Doug, not Doug, Bug
Mhm.
was like, tell that gnome that you're his daddy.
Mhm.
And then Reggie was like, "Oh, hello, son. It's nice to meet you. I didn't know I had a son.
I'm your father.
I'm your father," while he was humping.
Yeah.
And like that was amusing.
That's funny because of Will Ferrell's delivery.
Yes.
He does it in like the Buddy the Elf voice.
He was so genuine.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, he brings it up again of like, I have a son.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like there are funny lines, funny bits, but none of it is cohesive, and so much is just like bleh, like or gross, like the breakout scene, or just like boring. Just so much of just like why I don't really care.
Yeah.
It's just that doesn't really connect it all.
Yeah. I feel like the idea of doing an R-rated dog movie is a good idea. It also makes sense that it's like the we gotta get home style.
Yeah.
I feel like there's gotta be a better way to put those elements together than the way that
There's gotta be a better way.
than the way that this came together.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yep. Production facts?
Production facts. Let me tell you, it was a little bit fun looking at production facts for this because I've got so much info about the dogs that were in this movie. So this was released August 18th, 2023 by Universal Pictures. It originally had a June 9th release date, but it would be competing against Transformers Rise of the Beast. So they moved it. So it was released alongside Blue Beetle instead. This also
I love what that
what
like
it implies.
listen, we know it's not going to do better than Transformers Rise of the Beast. However, there's no competition with Blue Beetle.
Yeah. Yeah. This means that it replaced the Please Don't Destroy Treasure of Foggy Mountain with its theatrical release.
Oh.
And then there was a quote from the Wrap that says, this change. It further highlights the challenges in releasing big new comedies in theaters since you still might need big new stars. While most Saturday Night Live movies were not theatrically successful, Wayne's World and Blues Brothers are the exception. The near disappearance of the SNL comedian to movie star pipeline is one reason why we have yet to see the next Adam Sandler or Eddie Murphy in the last several years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems about right. I just thought it was interesting based on our last episode discussion.
Yeah.
It has an hour and 33-minute runtime. It's rated R, like we've said. The critic ratings. It's got a 53% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 69% audience score. Nice.
I gotta say, that is higher than what I expected critics to give it.
Yeah.
And lower than what I expected audience. Yeah.
It's got a 54 out of 100 on Metacritic and a B+ on CinemaScore. The critic consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is it's crudely effective and effectively crude. Strays is more amusing than hilarious, but this comedy's scattershot humor is partially offset by its surprisingly big heart. I agree that it's more amusing than hilarious. I don't agree that it has a surprisingly big heart.
No, because like if it's a dog movie, you expect heart, even if it's an R-rated comedy, because they're dogs. So it's just like there's gonna be heart. So I don't know. I wasn't really surprised by any of the emotion that came with it.
No, it didn't. It didn't make me feel much.
No. Other than disgust.
Yep. The budget for this movie was $46 million.
And was it successful?
No. It earned $36 million.
So you're saying it didn't do better than Blue Beetle?
So that was $24 million from US and Canada and $12 million from other territories. It was originally projected to earn $15 to $17 million in its opening weekend. However, after earning $3.4 million on the first day, that estimation was then lowered to $8.5 million.
That's rough.
That's rough. And then just a brief production timeline. August of 2019, The producers Phil Lord and Christopher Miller signed a first look deal with Universal Pictures. So May 2021, Universal acquired the rights to Strays. September 2021, filming begins in Atlanta, Georgia, and then December of 2021, production wrapped. There was apparently a lot of discussion about what dog breeds would play well off of each other in this movie and who the stars should be, and everyone was just voting for the dog breed that they personally had. And then info about the dog actors. So Elsa is the Australian Shepherd who played Maggie. She was the only one who had acted before.
We're talking about dogs.
I know. Sophie, the Border Terrier who played Reggie, was apparently very.
Whoa.
They did.
You're telling me.
I'm telling you.
That a woman dog.
Yep.
Played a man dog.
That's feminism, baby.
Ooh, boy, didn't realize this movie was pushing down its liberal agenda.
Which did mean that part of the special effects that they had to do was make Sophie anatomically accurate when Doug holds up Reggie.
That is
hysterical.
Ridiculous.
And then Dallin the Great Dane, who played Hunter, was still a puppy and got the zoomies a lot on set and would knock stuff over because he's 150 pounds. And then Benny the Boston Terrier, who played Bug, was the biggest diva on set.
I mean, that sounds right.
They said that if the temperature dropped below 70 degrees, then he would just shake and need to be held. So they just thought it was very funny that the character who's the toughest is played by the wimpiest little baby. There were over 75 dog actors used in this film. Which makes sense because I think it was 40 or something just for the pound.
Yeah.
The head dog trainer, Mark Forbes, said he's wanted an R-rated dog movie for a long time.
Hi, Mark Forbes. I'm the head dog trainer.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking, guys, what if we had an
Yeah.
R-rated dog movie? Because I don't know about you, but I often think about dog penises.
This is
and how comically we could use them.
Impression of Mark Forbes.
Even I've never heard his voice.
Yeah.
It could be.
Spot on. Yeah. He and apparently other dog trainers that worked on this movie were just finally, it's happening. I guess this one subset just really wanted this to happen.
All right.
Yeah. And he said that eye lines were an interesting challenge for this movie specifically. There is a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of scenes where it's just four dogs talking to each other. So it's hard to get four trainers who are all off screen together and getting the dog to ignore all the other trainers. So other things that I didn't know is that unless a dog owner specifically is saying I'm lending this dog for this production, then the trainer adopts the dog and it's their dog for forever or whatever. So I just didn't think about that, and it takes about 4 or 5 months to get a dog ready for filming, which is also shorter than I thought it would be. Shorter and longer.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fun stuff. So part of the reason that I think this movie felt so disjointed was the filming. They filmed the scenes with the dogs first before recording the dialogue, which I get.
Yeah, I can see why they did that.
Yeah. So the director Josh Greenbaum had said in an interview to Entertainment Weekly that I recorded scratch audio almost like a table read of the movie just so I could hear it. I even built animatics to the scratch audio. It was just actor friends who came in and lent their voices to that process. And then we went and shot. Originally, I thought I would play back the scenes for everyone on set, but I quickly realized that was not as helpful. It was a very weird set. Traditionally, you would have a rehearsal with actors and block the scene, but you can't do that. You can't ask these dogs, where would you want to say your line? What do you think you want? Where do you want to stand up and talk? So I would take stuffed animals. I had 4 stuffed animals, and with my first AD, we would walk them around on set and show the crew what the scene was and what it was about. Then we'd meet with the trainers about what behaviors we needed. Then we would film. It wasn't until after that we started recording with Will, Jamie, Isla, and Randall, and that obviously brought the film to life. The actors also recorded their lines together and that was a thing that the director kind of insisted on doing.
It makes sense.
Makes sense. And then Will Ferrell and Jamie Foxx were apparently very excited to work together because they haven't done that before.
That's nice. Good for them.
I'm glad everyone had a good time. Another thing is that we mentioned earlier, it's pretty minimal CGI in this movie, and the director did not want to rely on CGI that much. He said in an interview with People, I really wanted to lean on naturalistic dog behavior. Anybody who owns a dog or a cat knows how their body language tells you so much, and so to that end, I really wanted to get that behavior out of the dogs using a team of trainers and not by relying too much on CGI. If a dog was confused, instead of animating the eyebrows and furrowing them the way you might in a kid's movie, they cock their head. That's what they do when they're confused. Stuff like that, I appreciate.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the effort that went into this movie.
Seems like a lot of technical stuff went into this movie that is impressive.
Yes, it's the final product.
Yeah.
That something was lost along the way. My last little fact is Josh Greenbaum also apparently adopted one of the dogs who played Reggie, and his kids named it Reggie.
Good.
Yep. Rating? Anything else?
I think that's all I got. I think it's time for the rating. We rate things on this show out of 4 with 5 options. 0 out of 4 is, oh no. Oh God, no. What have you done? Why have you made this movie? 1 out of 4 is that was a movie. 2 is that's a well-made movie. 3, enjoyable and kind of technically good. And 4 is Oscar worthy. I gave this movie a 1 out of 4.
I did too.
Because it really was just a
movie.
It was a movie. It's
yeah.
Yeah.
There are parts of it that were well made, obviously, like we just said, but it doesn't quite feel like enough in the final product for it to be worth the 2.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy watching it.
Nope. Yeah, so that's pretty much this. Bryce, do you have any questions for us about this movie? You're our direct link to the audience.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I like being my vantage point is I just see from your eyes and up.
Yeah,
That's what we really need.
for our viewers,
Yeah.
there's a window between the 2 rooms that we can see Bryce. But
much like the dogs in the movie, I'm not doing anything up here. I'm just cocking my head. Big emotions.
yeah. Well, so that was our movie. So we watch other movies and sometimes there's a weird feeling in my chest right now. Am I dying?
Is it sadness?
I don't know.
Is your heart growing 3 sizes?
It's like a wave. That was weird. I have asthma. We talk about other movies that we've watched recently.
Yeah.
I haven't really watched just a movie. I've had Mystery Science Theater on nonstop.
Because you've been sick.
Because I've been sick. What one stood out? Samurai Cop.
That's fun.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Came out in the 90s.
Huh?
It's basically a Lethal Weapon knockoff where this white cop with long hair, everyone calls samurai for some reason, and then the bad guys are Asian, and it's rough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fun watch, especially if you're doing the Mystery Science Theater watch of it. I think it was Mystery Science Theater. It was probably Mystery Science Theater, but it could have been one of their other ones, like Riff Tracks or Cinematic Titanic or The Film Crew, because there's so many variations. But that was fun. That's probably all I got.
I watched The Dark Crystal.
Yep. Classic.
It's a good one. It was the first time that my girlfriend had seen it, and she had some funny reactions to it. She was, into it the whole time. It was just like absorbed into the story, and then spoiler for The Dark Crystal, that you find out that like the 2 species are related to each other, and when one of them dies, and then you see the other one like fade away because of it, and she goes. She was shocked. So it's a good one. Puppets are fun.
I love puppets. Bryce, have you watched a movie recently?
Not a movie. I did,
Well,
if I may.
You may.
I did see. I knew what Naked Attraction was. I understood the idea. Ever seen it. And I go on HBO Max, which I have not done in a hot minute, and they're like, "Hey, we've got
mail.
best parts." I'm like, "Well,
The best parts.
we'll check it out, I guess." So,
Bryce,
yeah.
did you by chance confuse Max with maxxx.com?
The best parts.
No,
Oh, okay.
I double checked this one. No, but like, yeah, I clicked on it just to see what it was about. It is the the least sexy dating show out there.
Yeah.
For its premise and concept,
Yeah.
the least sexy. And that's not body shaming. It is they take everyone's bodies and it's all very objective. It's all very, this is the human body.
Yeah.
Well, now, just, it was an experience, and it was the abbreviated one, and me and my girlfriend were like, we don't need to watch a full show.
That's enough.
This is enough.
Yeah.
Let's head over to maxxx.com.
And let's see some real cinema. Hey, there's a plot. And then I also started Cowboy Bebop, which is like,
Oh, nice.
it's good,
Yeah.
but it's not a movie. So.
Is it the
I would assume
real
the
boy one?
The what?
The real boy.
No, I haven't gotten Netflix ever since I did the password thing.
yeah.
So the animation's really good.
That's
Yeah. Well, cool. I think that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you for watching. If you have comments or questions, or if you want us to talk about a 2023 movie that we haven't talked about, let us know in the comments, preferably of YouTube or Instagram, because I don't really know how to find any other ones.
But on other podcast platforms, it helps us a lot if you rate and review us. It helps us show up in algorithms, which makes things easier. And or if you want to consider supporting us on Patreon, that's a thing that you can also do.
Please do. It's only $5.
It's only $5, or you can be a free member for
It's true.
whatever that's called.
It's true. You can, but
Follow us
it's $5 a month.
if you want.
'Cause,
You get exclusive content.
do you see what our budget has gone up to? Imagine
For just
How-
$5 extra.
for $5 extra, you could feed me.
For $5 extra a month, we can add a bunk bed into Bryce's own room.
Bryce can control from a bed.
Yeah.
For $5 extra, we could get a dog.
Ooh,
We get a dog.
no. You can maybe get a turtle.
Yeah.
Okay, that brings us to the end of this episode. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.